New drama on Capitol Hill over President Trump's Supreme Court nominee, Neil Gorsuch. Well, today the Senate Judiciary Committee easily advanced a nomination for the full Senate to vote on later this week. But Democrats also scored a victory. They now have enough votes to filibuster and indicate they will.
Unfortunately, based on Judge Gorsuch's record at the Department of Justice, his tenure on the bench, his appearance before the Senate, and his written questions for the record, I cannot support this nomination.
My conscience will not allow me to ratify the majority leader's actions. Not last year, not this year. I will not, I cannot support advancing this nomination.
In light of Judge Gorsuch's record, and in the absence of sufficient answers and honest answers to questions that were posed during the hearing, I oppose his nomination.
The GOP has the power to go nuclear to push Gorsuch through, but they were steaming mad at Democrats after the vote today.
If you're filibustering him as a Democrat, that just means you don't accept the fact that President Trump won. And this is the end of the qualification standards to be on the Supreme Court. Hamilton is rolling over in his grave.
Some of our colleagues are determined to just pound the table in order to stop Judge Gorsuch.
What we saw today was the position of the modern Democratic Party as they are opposed to Donald Trump appointing anyone to the Supreme Court.
The Democrats have politicized the court. It's pathetic that they're so stupid that they pick somebody of his quality and ability. And it all comes down to the fact that they're still gnashing their teeth over the fact that they lost the presidency this last year. And this was one of the reasons they lost.
All right, so strong statements on both sides of the aisle. Bill, will he in fact get nominated, put through, Dana?
Yes, so Senator McConnell, who is the majority leader now, has said that Neil Gorsuch will be confirmed on Friday. And that the statement that he just put out a few moments ago was that the Democrats can still change their mind and not force this nuclear trigger for him to go to a solid majority for a vote like this, if they choose to. I do think it's that Chuck Schumer, the new, he took over for Harry Reid. Mm-hmm. Harry Reid, of course, you know, there's no love lost there between me and the former minority leader. But I thought Chuck Schumer would be different. And I thought that he would be able to lead his Democrats in a different way. I think that he's making them walk a really short plank, and that the long-term pain for Democrats will be a lasting effect, not just on the Senate, but on, for America. It's a 200-year tradition. Now, maybe that tradition needed to go away. Maybe it's past its time. I don't think that Mitch McConnell wanted to do this, but if you heard what Senator Leahy was saying, it's not about Gorsuch as a person. It's about the tactics that McConnell used last year to block Merrick Garland, who was President Obama's appointee. But it's payback for what? Mm-hmm. Because Gorsuch is going to be confirmed. So they basically are forcing this now so that they can't use it later if there's another chance for another nominee.
Yeah. So what do you think about the strategy here on behalf of the Democrats?
Failure. Dana's 100% right. Look at so they will get the Republican. They'll get Gorsuch on the bench. They'll have a conservative on the bench. Think about going forward, though. There are two 80-plus-year-olds on the bench currently, and if you have an 8-year Trump presidency, that's potentially 2 more Supreme Court nominees. And all you've done is you said, well, go ahead, Republicans, put who you want on the bench, because it's going to be a 50-vote majority. 51 votes is going to, or 50 votes will get you your bench nominees going forward. That's a mistake on their part. They didn't play ball on this one. They should have, and they could have fought that battle on one of the future ones if there was one, but they failed. Neil Gorsuch had 2,700 decisions. He was seen as moderate on most social issues, including saying that abortion is the law of the land because of Roe v. Wade. I mean, what more does a Democrat want? What more do liberals want? Take that and you heard this over and over, Trans Am trucking. This is a decision of little material consequence to the country. Yes, it may be something that the Democrats don't like, but it's certainly not a reason to hold up a Neil Gorsuch nomination. It's absolute failure on their part, because now they're going to eat it on the next 2 nominations if it happens under Trump.
You know, I noticed you didn't have anything to say when the Republicans held up a Supreme Court nominee for a year. But leaving that aside, Gorsuch's problem now is growing among Democrats. And it's not just he's had 2,700 decisions. This is a guy that's never met a regulation he likes. and particularly if it's a regulation that somehow or another a corporation will tell them is costing them profits. This guy is a pro-corporate, and the first, by the way, the first political hack appointment to the Supreme Court without getting 60 votes.
So, Bob, would you recommend, would you advise the Democrats to force a nuclear option on Neil Gorsuch? Would you?
I think the Republicans are going to look stupid. People are going to sit back and say, "What is it about this guy? I don't know much about him, but there's something."
You think this is good politics, what they're playing right now?
I think the fact that the Republicans have to go to a nuclear option and break all these years of tradition is, I suppose,
but
that's
they
good
didn't
politics.
start it. Reid did.
Yeah, Harry Reid
but not for the Supreme Court, we didn't.
But this is about as good as it gets for the Democrats in terms of somebody who's very well qualified. He's moderate. He's a reasonable person. So now they're going to go ahead and do this, but they don't have the public support because 44% feel that the Senate should go ahead and confirm him.
You think he's moderate just because of Roe v. Wade?
I think that he's moderate based on his judicial record and his rulings and his opinions and his stated answers in front of the committee. Greg?
I've never seen one smart person being lectured by so many idiots in these hearings. It's like watching the opposite of a carnival dunk tank. Usually people are in line throwing balls at a clown. This is the reverse. It's a line of clowns throwing balls at the only sensible person in there. We have to admit this. The Republicans will support the president's selection. The Democrats will oppose. It's like watching a professional soccer match. We know the score is going to be 0-0. All right, so just get to the direct kicks. Get to the vote.
But no, that's not been the case.
No, but okay. Look, well, you know what the case is? If you recall your memories of Supreme Court nominations, the worst ones were Robert Bork, Clarence Thomas. I can't remember a time when Republicans went viciously after a Democrat. It's always the Democrats that go after the Republican. It's not a nuclear showdown. It's like when you play tic-tac-toe, it always ends in a cat. So just vote it. Right. Screw this stupid theatrics. It's a bunch of kabuki BS.
It's not. Listen, Greg.
This guy is so
bipartisan votes for Supreme Court from the beginning of this.
This guy is so bland. Wonder Bread is bored by him.
How do you know if he's that bland? By the way, what makes you think he's so smart?
Do you think? I mean, the filibuster should be reserved for when there's an issue that both sides agree this could be a nominee that maybe isn't right for the bench. Think about Sotomayor and Kagan.
They got
through. And I'm telling you, they're as liberal as long, and yet the Republicans found it in their power to get 60-vote threshold for both of those two. I think Neil Gorsuch is far less conservative than Sotomayor and Kagan are liberal, and they got through.
There was a decision by the Supreme Court early, about mid of the last century, with the Chevron decision, which said that the Congress could not do regulations. They could pass laws, but you had to leave it up to the executive to have regulations. That's been essentially accepted by all sides since then, except Gorsuch said in one of his opinions, I'd like to do away with Chevron.
Noel, I think that he said it was worth looking at again, and I think he's right. And I think President Obama actually, when he writes his memoirs, might agree, partly because if you look at the regulations that they put forward, including the Clean Power Act, because Congress didn't spell it out of what was legal and what was not, then EPA went forward and they said, well, this is what we're going to do. And they tried to use that Supreme Court ruling on Chevron deference. But guess what happened? It got tied up in the court, and now it can't move anywhere.
You don't want Congress to make every regulation, do you?
No, but I think that they need to have a little bit more skin in the game and not just defer everything to the agencies.
By the way, when Barack Obama writes his memoirs, it's actually going to be Bill Ayers writing it.
Thanks for the heads up.
Yeah, this
ghostwriter.
This is like the world's worst dinner theater, and I admire Bob for putting up a fight on this because it is such a predictable political display on both sides. It's like they're acting out a bad movie, and it's like an action movie in which you know the dialogue is only putting off the fight scene. Just get to the fight scene. We don't need any more dialogue. We didn't even need the hearings. Put the guy on Judge Judy. Let him guest host Judge Judy for 2 weeks, and that is more entertaining than this crap.
But it's almost political malpractice, though, by doing this.
But really
if this is your fight, no, you should save the fight for the next Supreme Court nominee.
That's why I think that Schumer is
holding the guy up for a year.
No,
I think that was the most courageous and bold political move.
Oh, come on.
You would have done it.
Think of
courageous and bold.
You would have done the same thing.
What?
Absolutely. See, and that's the thing is that the Democrats continue to underestimate Mitch McConnell, and he plays his book was even called The Long Game.
Yeah.
That he's playing that. So he went through a lot of terrible press for about 4 months on the Garland thing, and at the end, basically, for voters
right
at the
move.
very end who are like, I don't know if I can vote for Trump. Should I vote for Trump? But the Supreme Court's so important.
So true.
And they voted for
Can
Trump.
you put
That was
Mr.
the
McConnell's
chess
name
move.
on anything that's been important in this country, any law? Anything that he's done?
Absolutely.
He truly is the tortoise in Tortoise and the Hare.
Well, that's
he even
for
looks
sure.
like the tortoise. But he's right. He always
Personal attack.
always wins.
Yeah, but think about Bob, what you've done. You've handed the Republicans a reason to go 50 vote majority for the next Supreme Court nominees.
Yeah,
It's
but
a bad,
they didn't have to do
Bob,
that.
it's a
They still
bad
had that-
political
That's
move.
going to happen
preserve the
anyway.
filibuster.
That's going to happen
They're
anyway.
trying to
If
preserve
this
the
happens again with the
filibuster. Handed it
Republicans,
away.
they're going to go to the nuclear option. You know that, and I know that. That's how partisan it's gotten. And so let's just accept the fact the 60's done. The Republicans have decided to do that at the Supreme Court level, and the founders ought to be turning over their graves
Well,
collectively.
were the founders twirling when Harry Reid in 13 destroyed the filibuster for everything but the Supreme Court?
Probably didn't like it, yeah.
Yeah, but so we haven't heard one, reasonable, articulable fact
for like why
he shouldn't be. Yeah, because he
Chevron, I told you,
the
his
reasonable
rules.
man
Chevron
standard in
deference.
law school.
Trans Am trucking and Chevron.
And also
Take a
in
whole
Trans Am
backstory.
trucking, Gorsuch said he didn't like the ruling.
Right.
He didn't like what he had to do,
Gorsuch
but he
has got a way of-
adhered to the law.
He has a way of writing the decision and then saying, by the way, I wish you didn't have to do this, blah, 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 blah. He's a weak man.
No. You're not supposed to let people know how you're going to judge. That's why it's pointless.
Right. Okay.
Well, thank you, Greg.
Yeah.